Javale McGee.
That's one of our busts, and this is Nameco and Dustin with Fantasy Smack Talk. This is the bust show. So before we get into it, of course, go into our forums, post any questions that you have. We have all of the rankings up. Check out our other videos for those rankings as well. A lot of fun stuff. Dustin, start us off.
Micro Machine guy. I like the Micro Machine guy. JaVale McGee. I'll start the show out with him. Here's the thing. We actually don't mind JaVale McGee, but he is getting way too high up on some rankings, and I think he's going to get overdrafted. He's still JaVale McGee. He's still the guy that was running back.
Friend of the show.
He was running back down the court after he thought that they didn't get the rebound.
Terrible.
He looks like such a goob sometimes out there, but he can block the ball. He has a chance to lead the league in blocks. He might play decent minutes for Denver. Obviously, upside is there, but there's way too many question marks for where he's getting drafted. But we'll see what happens.
Now, this show is bust/overvalued. I cannot stress that enough. The next guy I'm going to talk about is Jeremy Lin. I understand he's in a new home in Houston. I understand that they have the pick-and-roll offense, which favors him. But this guy could get drafted as crazy as like the first round in leagues. That is way too high for him. Jeremy Lin's a solid NBA point guard. He is not an all-star. I think he's like a 14 and 6.5 or 7 guy. That's it. So whenever you draft him, draft accordingly that way. Not a first-round pick.
But people love insanity.
Not a first-round pick.
Next, we got Antoine Jamison, new home, out with the Lakers. He goes from the team that probably has the least amount of depth to a team that has, obviously, really good depth. He's not going to be asked to do a lot for them. He's going to be a role player coming off the bench. His 17 points from last year isn't even going to be close. So, obviously you probably already figured that out, but just be sure you're taking that into account on draft day. If you're panicking and you see Jamison's name, probably not going to want to go ahead and draft him.
Former Bullet, I'd like to see him win a championship. The next guy I don't want to see him win a championship because he's hosed me in my fantasy championships, and that's Brandon Roy. I drafted him the year that he was fine, and then he got... But either way, I digress. Regardless, clearly this guy doesn't really have any knees left. He didn't play last year. He was retired. He's unretired. He's with Minnesota. You're not going to see the 25, 5-5 guy that he was years ago. You're going to see a guy that plays maybe 25 minutes at best a night. Just remember that. Don't draft him based on his name.
Next, we got Iguodala. This is one of the guys that I've really liked through the years, but he's really started to slow down. I mean, one of the reasons I liked him is because he gets you over 5 rebounds, over 5 assists. There's not a ton of guys in the league that do that. But he's got a new home in Denver. Not sure exactly how he's going to factor in there. Only 12 points a game last year for him. Not liking that. He's kind of another name guy, a guy that's always been drafted in the early middle rounds. He offers solid value, but it's not really going to happen for him this year, we don't think. He just keeps going down our draft boards.
All right, again, this is bust/overvalued. Remember that. The next guy, how did I get stuck with all these guys? The next guy I'm going to talk about is Dwight Howard. Oh, I know what you're thinking. New home in Los Angeles. He's probably, he's still going to get the stats. He's still going to get points. He's still going to get boards. He's still going to get blocks. We just don't think he's going to get as many as needed in Orlando. He's not going to be the #1 option. Kobe's still there. And as far as rebounds go, he's got Paul Gasol next to him. He's going to get a ton of boards too. So we just think those numbers go down, dropping him out of the first round. So he's just not a first rounder anymore. Bust/overvalued. Calm. It's going to be okay.
It'll be all right. First San Antonio player we're going to talk about is Ginobili. It's same thing with him. It's just they're not going to ask him to do as much as they used to. He's getting older. They're going to rest him a lot. They're still probably going to be a solid team. They're going to be resting him for the playoffs. And that's the last time. That's the last thing you want when you're trying to win a fantasy championship is having guys that are getting rested during the time you need them the most. Ginobili, put him down way on your draft board. There's still a time where it makes sense to draft Ginobili, but I'm not touching him unless it's been rounds.
There's a time that makes sense to draft all of these people. Again, overvalued. Not just completely busted, you don't draft. Next guy I'm talking about is Ray Allen. And I know what you're thinking. He's out there in Miami, and he's going to have to be wide open at all times. But the guy is getting up there in age. He's going to be there. He's a complete role player. He's not part of the big three. Those guys are going to get all their looks first. Ray's going to be the afterthought. Of course, he's going to hit threes, but he's not going to get, a ton of looks, a ton of minutes, and get all the scoring opportunities for him to be drafted where he's going. Again, it's based on name alone. He's going a little too high for us.
The last guy I'm going to talk about is Timmy Duncan, the other San Antonio
Timmy!
guy on this list. You know, look at his numbers from last year, pretty solid. 15, 9, block and a half. Doesn't really sound, sounds like Tim Duncan. Just a little bit down from, years past, but he's still putting up the numbers. Here's the reason I don't like him. You're going to have to draft him around guys that still offer a ton of upside, and Tim Duncan doesn't give you any trade value. Good luck trying to trade Tim Duncan in a league and get full value for him. He's still got a decent chance to put up decent numbers this year, but just like Ginobili, he's probably going to get rested when you need him the most. It's just not. There's going to be a lot more guys at that point in the draft that are going to have bigger upside.
All right, the last guy I'm talking about is Brandon Bass. And with the departure of Big Baby going over there to Orlando, a lot of people think, oh, Brandon Bass is going to get all these crazy minutes and his stats are going to go nuts. Well, last year he was averaging close to 40 minutes a game towards the month of April. And in that month, he did what he always did. He's a 13-6 guy. So if you're drafting him thinking he's getting all these minutes and he's going to be like this 20-8 or 20-10 guy, that ain't going to happen. He's a 13-6 guy. Draft him accordingly.
That's very true. So that is it for the Bus Show.
/ Overvalued.
Overvalued. Don't forget about that. Don't forget about our forums either, and all of our other rankings, and our cheat sheet.
And we came with this list together, so all of the hate, you can direct it both of us, not just me.
Oh, he hates Dwight Howard. You should.
I actually don't hate Dwight Howard. That was a little bit of an argument, but he's not a first rounder.
We'll see.
Not a first rounder. Chill! It's not a first rounder!